Good evening and welcome to News Geelong on this Friday night, and we're at the Geelong Racing Club. This wonderful green racecourse getting all prepped up for next Wednesday's Geelong Cup. In News Geelong tonight, Avalon International Airport is the latest words of the Geelong public's vocabulary following the long and much awaited announcement this week. Summer is upon us, and the wise advice from all our local councils and shires is to make sure that we prepare to ourselves correctly for another Geelong Mozzies feast. From the world of Geelong sport, Mitch Cleary will join us with the latest happenings in Geelong sport, and weather-wise we'll update you on Geelong and the Surf Coast weather over the next 6 days. Senator Kate Lundy joined local federal MP Richard Marles on a visit to Geelong this week, including a visit to Geelong community radio station Pulse FM 94.7, happily discussing relevant matters with staff and listeners, as Ali Dean reports.
The Pulse and Diversitat play a huge role in the local community. Senator Kate Lundy and Member for Corio Richard Marles toured the facilities here today. Kate, you're here at Diversitat and the Pulse. Can you tell some of the viewers out there the significance of your visit here today?
Well, I'm here with Richard Marles, the Member for Corio, and he asked me to come down and have a look at these facilities. I'm very familiar with Diversitat. They provide a great service in the Geelong region, both to our diverse communities and communities of refugees, but also the broader community. You can see in this facility here, the opportunity to be able to learn about media and the training that's going on. We've met a group of East Timorese young people who are here learning about media operations, so I'm incredibly impressed with the role that they play.
And you'd hope that the support could continue for programs and facilities like this?
Look, I do indeed, and I know there's been, through various aspects, the Commonwealth Government has contributed to the facilities here. Obviously, Diversitat are not shy in seeking further Commonwealth support, so it's been a great opportunity for me today, not only to see the good work that they do, but to listen to their case for further support.
And in your role as Minister for Multicultural Affairs, a venue like this and a facility and all the opportunities that come of it are very important to you for all the people that take part? Well,
they are. We have one of the most diverse communities in the whole world, and with respect to our first Australians, we're a nation built on migration, and communities like Geelong really capture the essence of that, and being able to support the communities, make sure everyone can participate as a whole is a key role that wonderful services like Diversitat provide. So we can't achieve what we'd like to achieve as a government, that aspiration on behalf of a nation, without the community services like Diversitat and what they provide. So it's a partnership, and one we take very seriously and value deeply.
Richard, you had a tour of Diversitat and the Pulse this morning, and also Whole Foods Cafe in Geelong. Can you take me through some of your impressions from today?
Well, first of all, it was fantastic to have the Federal Minister for Multicultural Affairs, Kate Lundy, with us today in Geelong and seeing Diversitat at work, because this is the heart of this is the most important organisation in Geelong dealing with multicultural affairs. So it was great to have Kate in Geelong. She knows Geelong well, she knows Diversitat well, but it was the first time that she'd seen the facility at the Pulse in the centre of Geelong, which is doing great work, not only in terms of producing radio, but also in terms of training around information technology, around skills in radio, and indeed many graduates coming out of there are now working in the industry. So it's a fantastic facility and really supporting the multicultural community of Geelong, and it was just a treat to have the Multicultural Affairs Minister to see it all.
And you both spent some time on air speaking about some of the issues that people face and the programs and how great they all are. How was that, being on air at the Pulse, speaking to the community?
Well, look, it's always great to be on the Pulse, and I'm a frequent visitor to the Pulse and a frequent speaker on air with the Pulse, but I've never done it before with the Minister for Multicultural Affairs. And one of the important points that Senator Lundy made is that we have just elevated the Multicultural Affairs portfolio to a ministry ministerial level, which is the first time it's happened since the Hawke-Keating era. So, she really does have a very important role to play, and you could just see the passion in her eyes about the contribution that communities are making to our country. As she said, of course, we have our First Peoples, the Indigenous Australians, but other than them, we are a country of migration, and getting the migration story right is really important, has been very important to our history. It's going to be a very important part of our future, and she obviously has an important role in that. But it's organisations like Diversitat and the on-the-ground work that we saw both there and indeed at Whole Foods, which is what helps people get to know a new community, helps them get settled, and helps them find employment and develop the skills which enable them to participate in Australia's economy.
And obviously Whole Foods Cafe has a lot of programs, events, and also supporting local producers. You had a tour there?
Yeah, and look, the first thing you notice when you go to Whole Foods is the fantastic smell. I mean, this is a really, it's just a great outlet. No matter what's behind it, just buying food there is a treat. But it is a really good project because, again, what it's doing is providing skills and training in relation to food retailing and food handling. It is healthy eating, and that's a very important message as well in our society to make sure that we are living in a healthy way because, of course, non-communicable diseases, obesity, diabetes are a significant growing phenomenon within Australia. And an outlet like Whole Foods is really important in terms of dealing with that issue. But again, what it does is allow new communities who are coming to this country to gain the skills and the employment and the experience to engage in what is a very important industry within our community.
And this work, as part of your portfolios for Member for Corio, it complements some of your other projects. And what are some of the other things you're up to?
Well, it's as the Member for Corio, I'm first and foremost the Member for Corio, and so I love being able to welcome federal ministers to Geelong and to show them the wonderful things that we're doing. And I think the story of multicultural Geelong and the role that Diversitat plays in that is one of the really great Geelong stories.
This is Ali Dean at The Pulse for News Geelong.
Thank you very much, Ali. It's taken a long time and a considerable amount of lobbying, efforts by Geelong leaders, including the Mayor of the City of Greater Geelong, John Mitchell, to finally hear the great news that Avalon Airport will now be taking the big step to be an international airport. Ali Dean has more.
I'm here at Avalon Airport and it's just been announced that Avalon is about to go international. I caught up with Darren Cheeseman, Richard Marles and the CEO of the airport, Justin Giddings, to find out some of the benefits this will bring to the region.
Look, it's a really exciting announcement, and not just for the Geelong region, but actually for Greater Melbourne, because this is the announcement which really opens the door for Avalon to become an international airport, which is the key thing we need to see in terms of Avalon becoming Greater Melbourne's secondary airport. Now, that means that the aviation services for Melbourne will be the best in the country, and of course, from a Geelong point of view, that equals jobs, because airports are places where people work, and in time we will see thousands of people working here. There's something like 1,000 people who work at Avalon right now, but the opportunity to see jobs growth here is going to be a wonderful thing for a city which has, in the last couple of years, had some pretty tough issues to face when it comes to jobs with the price of the Australian dollar and the like. So it's a great announcement for Greater Melbourne, but for the economic future of this town, it's fantastic.
And was it a surprise for you to hear about the announcement?
Oh, well, no, because we've been working very closely on this for a number of years now. We were here a couple of years ago announcing that the federal government was giving in principle support to this airport becoming an international airport. And what that we were really saying at that point is that we would do everything we could to look at all the regulatory issues around an airport becoming international, of which there are many. And today is perhaps the biggest step in that, because what this does is open the door to the building of an international terminal here at Avalon. So we've been working very hard on it, and we're very proud to have got it to this point.
It's exciting, and Darren, for regional communities as well, it's great news for everyone.
Well, that's right. We've got the Bellarine Peninsula and the Surf Coast and the Great Ocean Road in our area. This is going to be a significant jobs grower. if you like, right throughout the region. This is going to really provide opportunities for people to work in tourism, for people to invest in tourism businesses, and really create opportunities for people for employment across the whole region. It's fantastic for Geelong, but it's also fantastic for the whole region.
And you can't see any negatives coming out of it, only positives?
Oh, absolutely. This is a great news story for Geelong. We've talked about, of course, Alcoa and Ford being a very important part of our economy, particularly over the last 100 years. I think Avalon will be a very significant employer for our region over the next 100 years. This is great news for our region. We, as a Commonwealth government, have removed all of the regulatory barriers that were in the way. It's now up to Linfox to find an airline or airlines to come and go from Avalon Airport, and it's great news.
And do you have much sense of the timing of how things will all start off and get going?
Well, that's up, of course, to Linfox to find an airline that's prepared to fly in and out of here. The Commonwealth Government will have no role to play really in that. It's a private sector job for them to find someone. Of course, I'm looking forward to it happening sooner rather than later, but it's really up to them to find a partner to fly in and out of this particular facility.
Well, thanks for joining me, guys.
Thanks, Ellie.
Thanks, Ali.
Good to be here.
Look, it's very significant. To have an international airport here requires customs quarantine, requires a certain standard of policing, requires a certain standard of building, requires bilateral arrangements with other countries to actually allow them to fly into Avalon. And so this today really does clear the way for a lot of those things. It's a fantastic announcement. It's one I've been really hoping for 4 years. And when they came through earlier this week, we were just wrapped.
And what were some of the barriers? I mean, there's been a bit of a delay.
It has, but it's just so complicated. We've had so many discussions. I mean, we're the second airport in Australia, really, and it's just, you know, the regulations really aren't built for new airports. They're really built for established airports. So, you know, we've been able to get through a lot of those barriers today and get the approval, and it's just wonderful.
And some of the positives and opportunities that will come out of this as it grows, can you go through some of those?
Oh, look, you know, just getting one international plane in, depending on the size, will probably generate about $100,000 in business spending for the region. You know, so it's just an enormous opportunity. If we can get a daily service to Asia, you know, you're looking at $100,000 every day of the year generated. So the wealth which is generated by an airport, international airport, is just enormous. You know, studies all around the world show just how the region benefits from having that linkage to the rest of the world. So, you know, we need to find an airline now. You know, that's our challenge. But, you know, this announcement today is just one step closer. It's great.
This is Ali Dean at Avalon Airport for News Geelong.
Thank you, Ellie. Avalon International Airport. They might be able to make another song out of that. As we go to a break here on News Geelong, we'll be back with more news after this. Welcome back to News Geelong, out here at the Geelong Racing Club and this wonderful green racecourse. Summertime in Geelong and surrounding districts has seen the mosquitoes thrive in breeding and biting. But localised preventative spraying and other education methods will benefit us this year. Here is a reminder of some of the methods and problems from past years to assist you in 2012-13. Debbie Meaney reports.
The City of Greater Geelong is making me extra happy today because they're treating the mosquitoes with an aerial management program. I caught up with Steve Sotomarco from the council to tell us about it.
We've been running a program now for well over 20 years, and in the last 4 years, through the benefit of a Commonwealth permit, we've been able to supply the product aerially through the helicopter. By helicopter, you can probably see it in the background there. And as you can see, the area behind us, it's a vast area to cover, and we were just becoming a bit limited in what we could do with ground crew. So the helicopter gives us great opportunity to sort of treat areas the size of this probably in about half an hour at maximum. So it's very important for us to get in quickly to stop the hatching out of the mosquito which can then therefore infest other bodies of water. So the helicopter is about speed and not just saving money and resources on the ground, but it's actually getting the treatment to be a very effective treatment.
And it's fairly cost effective in this way, but still costs a significant amount of money.
Look, it's 6.5 a dozen. It's about how much time you can spend having people out there trudging through wetlands, or the higher rate at doing it quicker. So it's about $1 better value for the buck, you know. So what we want is less hatching of mosquito out of the water. And that can be done through the aerial treatments.
And private landowners in the area can obviously help out significantly as well.
Yeah, look, there's two things happening here. This is basically the species out here is basically a saltwater species, and then you've got the freshwater species that can happen in town, and that can occur through, you know, here's one around my ear, you know, fish bowls and water tanks. There's a lot of water saving sort of strategies going on at the moment, so people have to really be aware that even the minute sort of break in a fly wire cover or a grill can result in mosquitoes getting in and infesting that water, so it won't go away. So you've really got to be vigilant about that. Just check, you'll see the larvae in the water. What you've got to do is just make sure it's all covered. Okay, they won't hatch out if you cover them, and they'll just die as you use that water. So you don't need to treat them or anything. Just make sure the breakage and the wire's covered.
In Wellington, this is Debbie Meaney for News Geelong.
Thank you, Debbie. Continuing on the same theme, to illustrate that 1 year of spraying and other preventative measures is not sufficient, and that we must maintain due diligence for proper mozzie control, Ian Nichols takes us back to 2010, when the problem was still prevalent.
This is Johnson Park in the heart of Geelong. I don't think you'll find any mosquitoes here, but in outlying areas around Geelong, where there's been a lot of rain of late and water still lying around, it means mosquitoes could be a problem. So the City of Greater Geelong has moved swiftly to have a prevention program put in place. Well, Lyndon Ray is the team leader of the Environmental Health Department here at the City of Greater Geelong, and it is the mosquito season right about now?
It is, Ian, yes. The official season probably started around August. As rainfall increases and temperature rises, we're actually a bit lucky this year in a sense, although we've had lots of rain. As we know, we had a pretty cold winter, so things took a little bit of time to kick off as far as breeding goes, but things are warming up now. Well, it means that your team has had to get out there, and spraying has been the most effective method. I'm particularly talking about outlying areas, the Bellarine Peninsula. Yeah, it certainly has, Ian. The program's been running for well over 20 years. It's probably been in the last 4 to 5 years where we've managed to get a permit from the Commonwealth to apply in our the products we use in our protected wetlands around the peninsula. Now, for urban dwellers, people who live in the suburbs, they don't get quite the same extreme, but they still should be taking care in some way or another, shouldn't they? Yeah, they certainly should. Recommendations, mosquitoes need still stagnant water for at least a couple of weeks for them to emerge as adults. So looking around your homes, block gutters, old bird baths and buckets and things, it doesn't take long for a little bit of water to sit in there, and sure enough, you've got your own little local breeding happening. And we just ask people to have a look around their properties to make sure they can empty that water out or prevent it from sitting for long enough that they can breed in. And for many years it's been recommended that people have citronella, either in the form of oil or a candle, or even grow the plant in your garden. Does that work? Yeah, the citronella definitely does work. There's a number of other plants listed that have supposed pest reduction properties. Whether that works or not, I personally haven't seen it, but I hear good reports on a lot of the plants. But citronella tends to be the most common one used as a general deterrent for all sort of insects, not just mosquitoes. So when would you expect mosquitoes to disappear from our scenario? The mosquitoes in our area they do breed all year round, but in the winter months they go quiet because it's colder, and then they breed a lot slower. But there is always still mosquitoes around, but our official program really finishes around March, April, as things start to cool down. So hopefully you've learned something about keeping mosquitoes at bay this summer. This is Ian Nichols for News Geelong.
As we go to a break on News Geelong, don't forget you can Twitter us on our Twitter account at News Geelong 31, or on Facebook, www.facebook.com/News Geelong 31. Problems, questions, any stories you'd like us to cover, give us a contact on Twitter or Facebook. We'll go to a break and be back with more news after this. Welcome back to News Geelong on this Friday evening from the Geelong Racecourse. Timor-Leste continues its ongoing development, and this week we had a team of community radio visitors meet and learn about the Pulse 94.7 FM here in Geelong, updating their skills and knowledge for them to then use on their return to Timor-Leste. Ali Dean has more.
So I'm joined by Brazado Ximenes, and he's the president of the Timor-Leste Community Radio Association. Brazado, could you tell me about the program and how you came to bring all the rest of the students from the group over here?
Thank you for we are coming to here to attend a training that facilitated by Asia Pacific Journalist Center. And then we came to learn about how to be their leadership, how to engage community, to work with the community radio station. And then we also learn more about how to get support from the community, how to get fund to supporting community radio.
Okay, and would you say there's a lot of differences from Timor-Leste community radio to over here, what you see here at the Pulse?
Basically, we have same problem with community radio here when we talk about the money, how to get the money. But some things that we learn from here is even the community radio here, they have a lot of good equipment, a lot of community participation, but they have a good management how to work together. This is something new for us because in East Timor we have a lack of community participation. So we came to here, we can learn more about how community radio here, they can engage or working with the community radio, or working with the group of the community, or work with the community from different culture. And this is a good thing for us to learn. And I think for the future when we return to our nation, we can create some mechanism to attend how to develop community radio in our country.
Thank you, Ali. He has been could have been champion for 23 years, a journo, a politician, a cricketer, a golfer, a master of ceremonies, and Cadell Evans' next door neighbour. But to Geelong people, he will always be our Ian Cover. Cove spoke to News Geelong at the recent Geelong and District Coaches Association dinner where he was guest speaker. John Eansell runs a very good, and his executive group run a very good organisation, and again we've seen another enormously successful tonight to end off a great a great football season.
Yeah, and like some of those stories about junior coaches and the fact that the association, has to conduct the business of the nominations and judging the people. It must be very hard to judge because they all do such a good job, and then you move to the senior coaching one. And Brent Gergich, who won it, has coached 3 flags in a row. Tom Lim at Queenslift, 2 flags in a row. The boys at South Barwon have done a fantastic job. So if you're just measuring it in premierships, it's tough enough. But obviously they do a lot of other great development of players as well.
And the evolution of females in the world of football.
Yeah, very much so. At the Coodabbeans, we take a great interest in the Victorian Women's Football League, and we actually broadcast from one of their games this year, and we have regular features with them. And the stats they give about the growth in participation in the last few years is just extraordinary, and it's clearly going to continue.
And when you look around the room tonight, there was champion upon champion from prior days as well as there was today, and everyone focused in on what you were talking about, because I think a lot of people really haven't heard your full story.
Oh yeah, and there's a few more besides. If we ever do get to talk about cricket rather than just all being footy tonight, we can reminisce about those great days watching Geelong in the sub-districts, Graham. And then of course when World Series cricket was first played in Geelong, I should have told a story about that. I was very disappointed from a Geelong point of view that Ian Redpath wasn't depicted well enough in the Kerry Packer story, because as you recall, Redders snapped an Achilles playing for the Australian 11 at Kardinia Park, and it would have been an opportunity to show Geelong off and Redders, but also to reinforce the story about how Kerry Packer supported the players to the hilt. And you recall that the day after Redders did his Achilles and was in Geelong Hospital, Kerry Packer flew to Geelong and landed on the old rugby oval in a helicopter and went and visited Redders up at the hospital, and to assure him he would still get paid. Should have been in the telly show.
And then after he did that, Kerry Bullmore Packer came into the broadcast box at the main oval at Kardinia Park and assisted me in broadcasting the game, Australia versus the rest of the world, which was led by Tony Gregg.
Well, that's something I didn't know. So you actually had Kerry Packer on special comments. Fantastic. That should have been in the series as well.
As we go to a break on News Geelong, we'll return with sport and weather after this.